Why do government contracting websites all look the same? You know what I mean. Like, you go to a government contracting website and you see the Capitol Dome, you see a bunch of official Washington, D.C. buildings, you see the waving of a United States flag.
Go America.
Exactly. Or maybe you see a bunch of people who look really, really diverse and excited to work with each other.
Yeah.
They all look the same and have these common elements. Why is that? So I'm Erika Dickstein with Spring Insight Marketing, and my colleague Laura Mayer and I are here today to chat about this question. Why do government contracting websites all have such similar features?
So, well, kick it off, Erika. Why do you think they rely so heavily on a generic look?
So I think there's a couple of reasons for this. Number one, government contracting websites, more so than even any industry that I can think of, they just put this up very, very quickly. And what is the easiest thing to do? It's to find these very generic photographs. I think that's one of the reasons, but I think even more so because, it's not just the brand new sites. I mean, that would be the answer if it's only the brand new sites. It's well-established organizations. I think there's a concern about sticking out and looking too different and not sort of playing that game. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I think you hit it on the head for the organizations that quickly have to come together and just need to get something out quickly. And I think particularly for new organizations or new groups that have come together, it is much easier to say, put a flag in, put a Capitol building and some people working because that's what we do. Is it what you do really though? Is, you look like, okay, you could be in that space. As an organization matures, as its contracting abilities mature, how do you convey what NAICS codes you actually work in, right? Well, it's not that generic looking image necessarily. How do you get your brand voice and what value you bring to the organization? How do you help get that through visually with just the words? And you do that through expanding your digital branding on your website.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about why this is a problem. Why does it matter that whenever we go to a government contracting website, they all kind of look alike?
Well, number one is they all kind of look alike, right? What makes your business different? Why should someone work with you versus, and be that as a partner, be that as a prime, be that as a sub, be that as the government entity that's exploring contractors? What makes you better, different, and why they should work with you? And I think that's where the beauty of sort of exercising that practice of taking your website further, of making it less generic and more specific to you. It's not only getting that digital message out in an effective manner, it also helps the organization really dwell down on what is it we do exactly and what does make us unique. So not only I feel like, of course we're in web dev, so we talk about this all the time, but it brings not just the value of your website users are going to come and have a clearer, more concrete, strategic alignment of what you want them to see. It also on the back end internally helps the organization really strengthen what is it they do, what is it they're so good at, and being able to tell it quickly.
Such great points. If you can't communicate via your website, which is your home base, this is where you create the narrative, what makes your organization different, special, then you're not going to be able to communicate that absolutely anywhere. And it is so essential. It's essential because you want people to understand your value so that they remember you. Because what's more forgettable than 5 websites that all really look the same?
Yeah. So, there's the question, how does one create a website that stands out, that sends their message?
So great point. Let's separate it into what are the digital assets? What are the digital sort of bricks that every website has? Let's start out with starting out.
Yeah.
The most important thing for organizations, I think you sort of hit on this earlier, is knowing who you are, right? And that we see with a lot of government contractors, because there's sort of this idea, and I think it's ingrained in this idea of primes and subs, that it's almost like Lego, right? Where you're just sort of fitting pieces in. It sort of creates this idea of, well, things are interchangeable. Mm-hmm. But good government contracting, that's just not the case. Somebody who is good and who brings unique perspective and who has really smart people that have really interesting experience, they're not interchangeable, right? So figuring out what those pieces that make you not interchangeable and what those are, because that is what's going to help you bring that to your site.
Yeah, definitely. I think there are ways to visually support that as well, right? That we often talk about: hire a photographer or get someone in your organization who's good at taking photos and use that. What an easy way to, it's so true, a picture is 1,000 words, right? So quickly tells what your organization's about, the kinds of people that your organization include, and what you do.
Yeah. I think the content piece of the website, right? You started to talk about imagery, and imagery is so essential, whether it's, please just don't use the same stock photography. I mean, that's the premise of this entire video. If you take nothing from it, let's all not rely on the same stock imagery, right?
Right. And if you have to, though, there are times when your budget has to, and then you customize it, right? Make it different.
Exactly.
Make it your own, if that's what you have to use.
Exactly. A good design firm is actually going to be able to take stock photography, and they're going to be able to alter it. They're going to be able to apply your organizational colors, your color palette. They're going to be able to really customize it in a way that it's not quite as recognizable as just being stock photography. But as you said, the best is always going to be photography that's unique to your organization. It's going to look real. People are going to see the people with whom they work. They're going to see the experts with whom they're going to be part of their team, right?
Yes.
And I think in addition to that, we spend a lot of time, it's kind of obvious, of course, we spend a lot of time on the imagery, but the content as well. Writing content that really does have empathy for the event, for the organization, but really for the client and what it is that you provide and the value that you provide. The unique value, not this sort of generic interoperable idea.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I agree. I often think, and I think we talk about this too, is when you're building your website, you really want it to be the total package, right? You want it to be beautiful and engaging, but you also want it to have that content and have that powerful language that's describing your organization and saying what you're doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
How you solve problems.
How you solve problems. Well, right there. I mean, I don't think there's more that we can say on that. Laura, thank you so much.
Always fun. Always fun.
Always so much fun to chat with you about websites and how government contractors and really anybody can do them better. So thank you so much for joining me. And for anybody watching this, thank you so much for joining us while we review this. If you are either a government contractor or some other kind of subject matter expert, go to our website, springinsight.com, springinsigt.com. You can sign up there for a consultation. We'd be happy to chat with you about your website. And please like and subscribe to this video because that helps people find us. Awesome. Thank you.